Sunshine Performance. Today is race day, and we're here at US 41, and we're gonna start racing. We're gonna go get teched in soon. Everything's running good with the car. We got a little bit of heat in her so far, and we're gonna have a mount right here so you guys can see everything. But other than that, we're gonna go get teched in and get this thing ready to go. We got the car back home, and what we noticed from the Dragster is that it would 60 foot really hard. 60 foot's at 1.3, and that's pretty good. Obviously, it should be that good because it's a Dragster. There's nothing that weight can or that power can be lost to, really. No chassis flex. I mean, I know it does, but not nearly as much as a door car, and nothing doesn't have to go through a suspension or anything like that. It's a hardtail. So what we have concluded is that after the 60 foot, it would bog down. And we're thinking that that fuel pump can't keep up with it, and it's starving of fuel. These are parts all that we have had laying around the garage, and we kind of took them and threw them all together and came up with this thing. And I mean, if you look, that intake, it's just a street car intake. There's nothing special about it. It's no high rise, nothing like that. And that fuel pump, we bought that used and rebuilt it. A lot of everything on here is used mostly, besides like the water pump and the flywheel and stuff like that, obviously. But most of the stuff is used parts, and even the carburetor. And so that's kind of our budget, I guess. We were on a budget, and we threw it together. It didn't run what it should have, or it didn't run what we wanted it to. And I think that, you know, the main culprit is the fuel pump. If you change that, that would definitely help it run faster, because that 60 foot, 1.360 foot is not lining up with the rest of the pass. It was way too slow for that 60 foot. It should be a lot quicker according to that 60 foot. So, like I said, we've narrowed it down to that. What we're going to go ahead and do, since we are changing the fuel pump, we've wanted to do this for a while now too. We think that intake is restricting us too. We're going to take that off. We're going to take the heads off. We've got new aluminum heads coming, rectangle ports, and we've got a new intake coming. So we're going to go ahead and put that stuff on there. I'm going to do a time lapse right now of us tearing off the heads and the intake, and carb and all that stuff. And we'll see how that goes, and then once everything new gets here, we'll go ahead and do another time lapse of putting it in. We'll go and give you the specs of everything new too. But we're going to go ahead and do that, and we'll test it again and see what happens. It's been a little bit since we last recorded, and we've torn even deeper into the motor. We got the cam out, the lifters, and we've got 2 pistons out. We're going to go ahead and take this in a little bit of a different direction. We've decided to go with a massive solid roller cam. It's like 763 or 773 thousandths on the intake lift, and I don't remember what exhaust was, but I mean it's a
765.
765. It's a massive cam. So what we had in here is a 572 on the intake. Again, I don't remember what exhaust was. And so that's going to be a big jump. And for that, we're going with aluminum heads. And for that, we have to beef up spring pressure and do all sorts of stuff up top. But also, we're getting to a higher horsepower mark. So we're going to go ahead and beef up the bottom end too. We're going to leave our crank there, but we're going to take out these old pistons and rods. And we bought forged dome top pistons with a 25cc dome. And then we also got forged I-beam eagle rods that we're going to put in here. The reason we're doing that is because eventually, not right now, but eventually this thing's going to see some nitrous. And while we're in the motor, we figure we may as well go ahead and beef it up. That way we don't have to do it down the road, and that way we're not sorry for it.
We're going to file fit the rings for
Yep.
nitrous too.
Or get file fit rings. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video sometime soon after we get this all torn apart and talked about a little bit more, and then make another video of us reassembling this motor with all the new parts. So parts are starting to flood in our door right now, and we're just going to wait till everything gets here and work on what we can. We've also got another motor in the works. We're building a 327 for a customer, so we're going to be working on that too at the same time. Got this big pig out of the back of slop, and everything's looking good in here. We're going to go ahead and pull all of them rods, and here's what the car looks like. So we lifted it up into the air, and we pulled the tranny off, and him and I just carried it over there, and then put this plate back in. That way we didn't have to mess with our shifting linkage. And we're going to go ahead and pull this thing apart. Everything looks good. We got all the pistons and rods out, and we're going to go ahead and start file fitting our rings and put in the new pistons and new rods, but I think we're going to go ahead and do that in another video. So we'll be back, and thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Okay, never mind. That's not the end of the video. As you can see, the crank is out of the motor, so we decided to go ahead and pull it because we're going to stud the mains. This is a 2-bolt block. It's not a 4-bolt, and we would really like to make sure we got as much strength as we can get out of this block. So, like I said, we're going to stud them, and since you're pulling the crank out, we're getting new rods, and we're getting studs and stuff like that. You may as well buy new bearings. It's always a smart idea. And obviously, we're going to check clearances and stuff with the dial bore. But just for a sneak peek, here are these heads. Well, this is one head. And these are a PBM Striker series. And you can only buy them. I guess general public can't purchase them. So you can only get them through a machine shop, or if you're an engine builder or something like that. And I've already checked one of these seats, and they all look really good. And, you know, that measures almost 60 thousandths, that 45 right there. You can hardly see it, but that gray right there. And they all look really good. Obviously, we're going to go through and check all of them, but they're rectangle port. They got 250 intake valves. I don't remember what the exhaust valves were.
188.
188. What's the chamber size? 115? It's either 115 or 110. We'd have to check. And then the intake runners are 360, I believe. And so there's a shot of the ports for the intake. And obviously, we got a rectangle port intake to match. And so these are the heads that's going on here. And there's one of the valves that we got. We got an undercut valve. That's one of the intake valves. Got an undercut to help with flow. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and make a new video and build this motor up. and slap those heads on it. And
We'll have it going in a couple weeks.
yeah, it all started with a fuel pump. We figured out our fuel pump wasn't cutting it, so we decided to go with a new one. You go with a new fuel pump, you may as well do this. We wanted to do this, so we did this, and now we have a better block on our hands. Besides, but we're not taking out the freeze plugs or anything like that. We did take the cam button out. Obviously, we're going to do new cam bearings too. Why not? They're cheap enough. And so that's where we're at. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.